All right, so let's talk about symmetric encryption. So symmetric encryption is an algorithm that uses the same cryptographic or secret key to both encrypt plain text and decrypt ciphertext. Now, one of the ways that I try to remember this is, let's just say that I needed a buddy to house sit for me for the weekend. Instead of me giving him my key, I'll go down to like the hardware store or to Wally World and I'll insert my master key. It'll output a duplicate key. The key itself is identical in nature. So they're both used to lock the door or encrypt my message, or unlock my door or decrypt my message. So that's kind of the way that I like to understand symmetric encryption. But in the real world, let's just say, for instance, that Gabby wanted to send a message over to Evie, and the contents of her message were personal in nature, and she just doesn't want anyone to be able to see it. So what Gabby could do is she can take her key and she can transform it from plain text over to ciphertext by turning the key. Once she does that, she can send that through the internet. It'll to anyone who may intercept it will only see the ciphertext, which kind of looks like the gibberish text in the Matrix, right? But when Evie actually receives it, she'll be able to use that same key to decrypt the message, and then she'll be able to see it in plain text. That's essentially how symmetric encryption works. So symmetric encryption has fundamentally four major issues with it, and you probably have noticed at least two of them already. The first one is the key exchange, right? Since we have one key, or we have one set of keys that are identical in nature, how do I get that over to Evie when how do I get it over to Evie without physically giving it over to her? Because if I just send it to her by email, there's a chance that someone could intercept that message and be able to utilize that key for any future communications between Gabby and Evie using this same type of key. The other issue is that there's nothing that stops Evie from sharing that key over to Sam, or Sam to share that key over to Athena, or Athena to share that key over to Tammy, or Tammy to share it to Willow, or Willow to Beth, or Beth to Asuka, right? And although they share it, Gabby doesn't know any of these people at all, but they all have copies of this key. That becomes a true problem. Another thing is symmetric encryption, that it doesn't have a great sense of key management. And what I mean by that is, let's just say, for instance, that we have 101 people who need the same exact key, right? If I take that 101, I run it through the key management, the number of key algorithm, which is n in parentheses, n minus 1 in parentheses divided by 2. I take that amount, which comes out to 100. We multiply that by 101 and divide that by 2. So for 101 people, we need 550 keys. And as you can see in this display here, in this slide here, it's a mess, because it really is a mess. It's not practical in nature. If I want to get rid of some keys or deactivate keys, it's very difficult to be able to do that with this kind of function. Just a couple of things of note. I wanted these keys to look similar on purpose. And as we get into asymmetric encryption, I want you to be able to kind of visualize the difference between the two, not just in theory or practicality, but visually as well. The other thing is that if you're taking the Security Plus or the CISSP, that formula is going to be really, really important. So try to commit that to memory. You may get things on the test that says that, hey, we've got 32 people who need keys, secret keys. How many total keys are you going to be able to output? And you need to put that into this algorithm itself, or this function, or this formula. That's the word I was looking for, formula itself. So just try to remember that in parentheses n minus 1 close parentheses divided by 2, n is the number of people, and then the outcome comes into the number of keys. So hope that helps. And then lastly, the issue with symmetric encryption is that there's no authentication or no non-repudiation. So what does that mean? So if Gabby wants to send a message over to Evie, right? There's no true way for Evie to know that Gabby sent that message over to her. It could have been sent over to her by a threat actor who compromised the key, right? Or you know, in the previous slides, we were talking about how Evie was sharing it over to different people. She could have shared it over to Sam, and Sam could have sent that message pretending to be Gabby, and there's no way to refute or repudiate that it came from Sam versus Gabby or vice versa. So again, that becomes a real big issue with symmetric encryption. So with all this talk about the negativity regarding symmetric encryption, why do we even use it? Well, simply put, it does have some advantages, including that the algorithms for symmetric encryptions are very quick to compute. It produces a far smaller file size than its counterpart. It also allows for a faster transmission of data, especially when you're comparing it against its counterpart, asymmetric encryption, which we'll talk about later. And it is ideal for media or large data files itself. Don't want to give up too much, but there, you know, for all the things that we have said about the negatives, there are ways to securely send symmetric encrypted keys, but it does entail using other technologies in order to be able to do it, which we'll talk later in this course. So these are the different types of symmetric encryption. It's not all encompassing, but these are typically the ones that you will see. The ones that are bolded, which are DES, RC456, and AES. I want you to please take note of this, especially if you're doing the Security Plus or the CISSP. These are very, very testable. So knowing that these are symmetric encryptions and that symmetric encryptions are used primarily for large data sets, that's going to be kind of handy and key for you. If you're in academia, it's really going to be important for you to understand all of the concepts of symmetric encryption, including how many rounds of encryptions each of them have. Some of them have 10, some of them have 14, some of them have over 17. So that's going to be something that you're going to need to really understand. We'll talk about those on upcoming videos. You're also going to need to know things like the bit size, as well as the key size, the key length size for each of these types of encryptions as well. You won't need to know that for Security Plus or CISSP. So just kind of keep that in mind, but I definitely wanted to make sure that you guys at least knew or had this information available to you. All right, so that pretty much is it for symmetric encryption. If you need the study notes for symmetric encryption, please like this video and leave a response in the comment, and be sure that you visit the website or the blog at www.sageknowsit.com. If you do those things, I freely give out my notes that I have on that to help you go forward. Thank you so much. Y'all know the drill. Keep it real and keep learning.